Color is not decoration. In Africa, color is declaration. It speaks through fabric, beads, body paint, and sacred signs. It carries prayers. It reveals status. It guards the spirit. Color, in African tradition, is not seen, it is felt. And every shade tells a story older than kings, deeper than myth. Step into a Yoruba shrine, and you'll see white garments flowing like river spirits. Visit the Maasai of Kenya, and you'll be greeted by red robes flashing like fire against the savannah. Travel with the Tuareg of the Sahara, their faces veiled in deep indigo that stains the skin, a holy mark of the sky made flesh. To the outside world, these may look like fashion, but to those who know, color is ritual. It is protection, it is memory. Each hue carries meaning passed down not by books but by lineage. A red bead may whisper of war. A white wrap may shield the soul. A black line on the forehead may link the living to the ancestors. In every village, every ceremony, every rite of passage, color speaks when language cannot. This is the story of that language, of red bold and burning, of white pure and eternal, of black deep and knowing, of blue vast and sacred, of green growing and healing, of gold shining with divine legacy. These are not just colors. They are spirits, symbols, warnings, blessings. They are the palette of Africa's soul, painted in sand, woven in cloth, carved in memory. And today, we listen. Red is the pulse of Africa. It is the beat of the earth, the fire of the sky, the blood that flows through the veins of ancestors and warriors alike. In African tradition, red is never just a color. It is a force. It is life itself, and it is death. It is the war cry, the sacrificial offering, the seal of divine strength. When the Yoruba people speak of Sango, the thunder god, they speak of red with awe. Sango, the god of lightning, and justice is wrapped in red, his presence marked by the crash of thunder and the crack of a strike, fierce and uncontrollable. Red is Sango's essence. It represents his power, his passion, his undeniable authority. The people wear red in his honor, especially during festivals and rituals invoking his energy. A red cloth tied around the waist of a warrior means not just protection, but a declaration of readiness for battle, to fight with the fury of a god. But red is not only about strength and war. It is the color of blood, the force that flows through every living creature. To wear red in the Maasai tradition is to honor the bloodline, to signify kinship, continuity, and pride. The Maasai adorn themselves with red shukas, woven fabrics that announce their presence. Red is life, and the Maasai are warriors of that life. In their red garments, they carry the history of their ancestors, the promise of survival, and the honor of their people. When the Fulani herders prepare to sacrifice an animal for a festival, the red is visible in the ochre painted on their faces, and the blood used to mark the sacrificial site, and the sacred dance performed around the fire. Red in these rituals is not just the color of sacrifice. It is the gateway to the ancestors, the offering that nourishes the spirits. It connects the physical world with the divine. Red also marks transition, change and power. In many African ceremonies, it signifies the crossing of thresholds, from childhood to adulthood, from life to death, from one world to the next. In Ghana, during the Adamu ceremony, red fabric is worn to indicate the passage of the soul from the earthly realm to the ancestral world. The elders wear red as they stand at the crossroads between these worlds, guiding the soul with the strength and wisdom that red embodies. But red is not just seen in the visible, it is felt in the invisible, in the heartbeat of the land. In ancient traditions, red stones were used in divination to speak to the gods. Red feathers placed at altars, gifts to the spirits, serve as bridges, channels for the divine to communicate with the living. As we move through these lands, across the plains, through the jungles, and by the rivers, red is never far from us. It is the pulse that guides us, the fire that protects us, the blood that binds us. From the vibrant African textiles to the painted faces of the warriors, red tells us that we are alive, we are powerful, and we are connected to something far greater than ourselves. If red is the pulse of life, then white is the breath of the soul. White is the color of divinity, of purity, of the realm that exists beyond the veil of mortal eyes. It is the color of peace, of transition, of spiritual clarity. In African tradition, white is worn during important rites of passage. From birth to death, from the earthly realm to the divine, it is the symbol of contact with the ancestors and the gods. When a person wears white, they are said to be marked by the gods, protected by their power, and cleansed of earthly impurities. The Yoruba people associate white with Obatala, the god of wisdom, purity, and enlightenment. Obatala, who is said to have shaped the first human beings, is often depicted wearing pure white robes, his presence one of serenity and grace. In Yoruba spiritual practice, white is worn during important ceremonies, especially by priests and priestesses who seek to channel the divine energy of Obatala. White represents their connection to him, the divine light that guides them in their work. In many African cultures, the color white is also a marker of transformation. In the Mek Bambara tradition of Mali, the color is worn by initiates during their initiation rites, symbolizing their journey from ignorance to enlightenment, from the unknown to the known. It is a moment of spiritual rebirth, where one leaves behind the past and emerges cleansed, renewed, and purified by the gods. White is also the color of the spirit realm, the land of the ancestors. When a person dies, their body is often draped in white as a symbol of their safe passage to the afterlife. It is not just a color for mourning, but one for honoring. In many communities, the white cloth wrapped around the deceased's body is believed to guide their spirit as it travels through the realm of the dead toward reunification with the ancestors. It is a sacred offering, a reminder that death is not an end, but a transition to another world. In the Himba culture of Namibia, the use of white is significant. During ceremonies of cleansing, the Himba people use white ochre to paint their bodies, which symbolizes purity, connection to the gods, and harmony with the earth. The ochre is worn not only for aesthetic purposes, but as an act of spiritual renewal, a protection against negative spirits and a sign of alignment with divine will. White is also associated with peace. During conflict or war, a white flag is flown as a symbol of truce. It signals an end to aggression and a call for reconciliation, a return to harmony. This symbolism transcends across many African cultures, where white is seen as a mediator, a color that bridges the gap between the living and the spirits, between life and death, between the earthly and the divine. In ceremonies across the continent, whether in the humid forests of Central Africa or the arid deserts of the Sahara, white is worn to signal the presence of divinity. It is the color of the priest's robe, the ritual mask, the sacred drum. It is the light of the ancestors shining down through the dark clouds of the unknown. White tells us that no matter how dark the path may be, there is always light, a purity, a divine presence, a promise of peace that transcends all things. In a world defined by light, black is the silence that holds all things. It is the unseen, the unknown, the eternal depth that anchors life to the spirit. Black in African tradition is not a color of evil, but of origin. It is the color of the soil that gives birth to crops, of the night sky that nurtures the stars, of the womb that carries life. It is a color rich with meaning, depth, power, mystery, and remembrance. For many African cultures, black is not just the color of mourning, but the color of ancestral power. It is the hue of the earth, the ground that has seen generations rise and fall. Black is the color of the ancestors, those who have passed on, but whose presence remains constant in the world of the living. It is believed that the ancestors who once walked on earth still move through the land, their spirits woven into the fabric of nature. To wear black is to carry them with you, to honor their guidance, their wisdom, and their protective force. Among the Zulu people, black is worn by the family of the deceased during the mourning period, not only as an expression of grief, but as a sign of spiritual connection. The color symbolizes the return to the ancestral world, where death is seen as a continuation, not an end. It is through black that one bridges the gap between the living and the dead, ensuring that the connection is never severed. In Mali, the color black is used in the divination process. Spiritual leaders or jangas dress in black robes to invoke the spirits of the ancestors, calling upon their wisdom to guide decisions and heal the sick. Black in this context is the color of spiritual depth, a channel through which wisdom from the past can be accessed in the present. It is the color of the unknown, the gateway to the divine forces that exist just beyond the veil. For the Dagara people of Burkina Faso, black is deeply linked with the power of ritual and magic. Black stones, painted faces, and sacred cloths are used to invoke protective spirits and ensure the balance of the world. It is said that the earth itself speaks through the color black, calling the living to remember their roots, their history, their connection to the sacred ground that sustains them. In Congo, black is the color of the Nzambi Mango, the supreme god of the Bakongo people. And Nzambi, the creator of the universe, is said to exist beyond human comprehension in the vastness of darkness. The blackness of the night sky is seen as his domain, a place where all things are conceived and nurtured before they enter the light of day. To the Bakongo, black is a color of cosmic energy. It holds the universe, secrets, its beginnings and its endings, but black also has a more personal significance. It is the color of the self, of individual power. In Nigerian Yoruba society, black signifies the deep-rooted power of a person, especially in the spiritual realm. In certain rituals, black is worn to affirm one's connection to the divine, not just in terms of ancestry, but in the strength that comes from within. It is the color of self-empowerment, the otzebet that the spirit within can move mountains, weather storms, and transcend the limitations of the physical world. In African art, black is often the first color used, the foundation upon which all other colors are layered. From the dark lines of traditional beadwork to the intricate designs on tribal shields and clothing, black is the starting point. It represents the depth of human experience, from birth through life to death, where everything begins and everything returns. Look up, the sky stretches infinitely, vast and endless, its color shifting with the time of day, yet always present. In Africa, blue is not just a color of the heavens, it is the embodiment of divine protection, cosmic wisdom, and spiritual clarity. It is the color of the sky god, the waters that cleanse, and the vast expanse that holds both the stars and the spirits. In the Sahara, where the Tuareg people roam, blue is worn as a shield, a mark of both identity and protection. Known as the blue people of the desert, the Tuareg wear indigo, dyed garments, a color that stains their skin over time, creating a sacred bond between the wearer and the celestial realm. For the Tuareg, blue is not just fabric, it is the mark of their spiritual connection to the heavens, to the moon, and to the stars. It is said that the blue of their robes reflects the light of the stars, guiding their way through the desert, ensuring they are never lost in the vastness of the world. This celestial connection is not just symbolic. Blue is believed to be a color of protection against evil spirits and ill fortune. In many African cultures, blue beads are given to children as a protective charm, ensuring that they are guarded by the spirits and are shielded from harm. These are beads worn as necklaces or bracelets, are believed to have the power to ward off the evil eye, and their blue hue is seen as a sign of purity, strength, and divine favor. In West Africa, the Dogon people of Mali associate blue with spiritual guidance and knowledge. The Dogon are famous for their advanced understanding of astronomy, especially their knowledge of the Sirius star system, which they believe was taught to them by ancestral beings called Nomo. The Nomo, who are often depicted in blue or blue-like hues, are regarded as divine beings who brought wisdom, language, and culture to the Dogon. For the Dogon, blue represents wisdom from the heavens, a divine gift that connects them to the cosmic order. Blue is also significant in African art and symbolism. It is the color of calm, clarity, and communication. Beadwork, a traditional art form across many African cultures, often uses blue as a central color in intricate patterns. These beads are not just decorative. They serve as spiritual symbols telling stories of ancestors, gods, and the cosmos. In Ethiopian Orthodox Christianity, blue is often used in sacred iconography, symbolizing the Virgin Mary's mantle and her protective embrace. This use of blue as a divine protector transcends traditional African religions, blending with the Christian influence in the region. But blue is not only spiritual, it is also tied to the earth and water, elements that sustain life. In African agricultural traditions, blue is the color of the rivers, the waters that bring fertility and abundance. When the river floods, it is seen as a blessing from the gods, a sign of renewal and prosperity. Blue garments and beads worn by farmers and fishermen represent a deep respect for these life-giving forces, acknowledging their role in the cycles of life, death, and rebirth. In some cultures, blue is also a color of status. Among the Hausa people of West Africa, blue dye was once a rare and valuable commodity, symbolizing wealth and social standing. Only the elite were able to afford the vibrant shades of blue fabric, making it a color associated with nobility and spiritual high rank. Blue tells us stories of the cosmos, of the vastness above and the depths below. It is the color of the sky that holds us, the waters that heal us, and the ancestors who guide us from afar. And in every thread of indigo and every bead of turquoise, blue is a reminder that the heavens are never out of reach. In the vibrant lands of Africa, where the soil is rich and the sky promises rain, green is the heartbeat of life. It is the color of renewal, of transformation, of the eternal promise of nature's bounty. Green is the color of the earth herself, fertily abundant and always in motion. To the Bigekan people of Ghana, green is the sacred color of Asais Ga, the earth goddess, who is seen as the mother and protector of the land. Asais Ga nurtures the soil, making it fertile and capable of sustaining life. It is through her that the harvest flourishes and the balance of nature remains intact. In tradition, green is a symbol of abundance, growth, and fertility, not just in the earth but in the human soul. It is worn during harvest festivals, agricultural rites, and spiritual ceremonies to honor the goddess and to invoke her blessings of prosperity. Green is also deeply connected to healing. Among the Zulu people, green is seen as a symbol of vitality and physical well-being. Healers as herbalists, those who know the secrets of the plants and the land, wear green to represent their ability to restore balance and health. Green is the color of the herbs, the leaves and the plants that are used in medicinal practices to treat ailments and sickness. It is a color that signifies the living force of nature, the energy that flows from the earth into the body, promoting restoration and vitality. In many African traditions, green is the color of the rain, a symbol of hope and the renewal of life. The arrival of the rains is celebrated across the continent, especially in places where water is scarce and the earth thirsts for nourishment. The color green in these contexts represents the land's rejuvenation, the rejuvenation of crops, of communities, of all life that depends on the seasonal rains. For the Mendi people of Sierra Leone, green represents the wet season, when the land turns lush and full, and when life flourishes in all its forms. Green is also the color of fertility, both in the agricultural sense and in the human sense. In many cultures, green is used to symbolize the vitality of women, the essence of life, giving energy. Fertility rituals across the continent often feature green garments, beads, and plants, representing the endless cycle of creation. Women, especially during initiation ceremonies, wear green to connect with the earth's power to give life. In Nigerian traditions, green is symbolic of balance and harmony. It represents the relationship between the human world and the spirit world, the harmony that exists when humans live in unity with nature. In rural areas, green is often worn during communal celebrations, prayers for rain, or rituals that mark the change of seasons. The greenish hues of the fields during planting and harvest are reminders of the eternal relationship between people, nature, and the spirits that govern both. In southern Africa, the herbalists or healers, who are revered for their knowledge of plants and healing methods, wear green garments as a sign of their connection to the earth's healing forces. Green is often used to symbolize spiritual purification and physical restoration. Healing ceremonies where herbal remedies are applied to the sick or afflicted are carried out under the guidance of the healers who wear green to signify their deep connection with the earth's rejuvenating energy. In the cities, green is also a color of hope and change. It is often used in political movements and activism, symbolizing the fight for a better future. It represents the growth of ideas, the planting of seeds for societal change, and the flourishing of a new generation that carries the legacy of the past forward into a hopeful future. From the lushness of forests to the savanna's promise, from the rain that nourishes to the herbs that heal, green is the color of the earth's living energy. It tells the story of life's cyclical nature of birth, growth, death, and renewal. Gold is not just a precious metal. In Africa, it is the sun's gift, radiant, eternal, and full of divine power. Across the continent, gold represents more than wealth. It is a divine force, the link between the mortal and the sacred. It is the symbol of the gods, the royal lineages, and the ancestors who walked before. For the Ashanti people of Ghana, gold was more than currency. It was the heart of their spiritual and political power. The Ashanti Empire, one of the most powerful in West Africa, was built upon its control of the gold mines of the Waso and Birim regions. The Ashanti kings wore golden regalia to demonstrate their connection to the divine, with the golden stool, the Sika Dwa Kofi, as the most sacred symbol of the monarchy. This stool was believed to embody the spirit of the first Ashanti king, King Ose Tutu, and was considered so sacred that no one was allowed to touch it unless they were the ruler of Ashanti. Gold's radiance connects the living to the divine. It is said that the gods themselves bathe in gold, and their essence is carried by the golden beads worn by their earthly representatives, the kings, the chiefs, and the priests. To possess gold, to wear gold, is to be closer to the gods, to have the divine favor shine down upon you. Gold crowns, pendants, and jewelry are symbols of authority, wisdom, and protection. In the Zulu culture of Southern Africa, the symbolism of gold is seen in the royal regalia of their kings, known as the Inkosi. The kings wear gold armbands and necklaces that signify their connection to the divine order. The gold is not just ornamentation. It is a sacred connection to the ancestral spirits who guide and protect the kingdom. The Zulu believe that gold holds the power of spiritual awakening. It is the light that illuminates the way for both rulers and the ruled. Gold also connects to the sun, a divine force of creation, life, and eternal energy. Across Africa, the sun is often associated with deities of creation, life, and vitality. The color gold mirrors the sun's rays, representing the immortal and the eternal. In Nigerian Yoruba cosmology, the sun is linked to Ogun, the god of iron and warfare, who also symbolizes creation and innovation. In many African traditions, the sun's power is seen as a life giver, and gold mirrors this in its ability to illuminate the soul, give light, and provide sustenance. For the Nigerian Igbo people, gold is used in sacred ceremonies, particularly in offerings to the ancestors. Gold ornaments are given as gifts to ancestral spirits during festivals or rites of passage, offering respect and gratitude. These gifts are symbolic of the exchange between the living and the dead, the mortal and the divine, ensuring that the ancestors are honored and that the blessings of the past continue to flow into the future. Gold also represents immortality and eternal life. For the ancient Egyptians, gold was the material of the gods and was reserved for their sacred images, tombs, and burial masks. The famous golden mask of Tutankhamun is a striking example of how gold was used to signify the divine nature of the pharaohs, whose spirits were believed to ascend to the heavens, bathed in gold's eternal glow. But gold is not just reserved for the royal and divine. In many African communities, gold beads and jewelry are used by common people to represent status, wealth, and heritage. The gold beads worn in the Ewe and Fanti cultures of Ghana, or the Zulu beadwork worn in southern Africa, are not simply ornamental but serve as markers of lineage and family identity. Each bead, each piece of gold jewelry carries the weight of ancestral pride, honor, and legacy. Gold is also linked to fertility and prosperity. The Shona people of Zabwe, for example, associate gold with wealth and abundance, symbols of a prosperous harvest, a flourishing family, and a thriving community. It is seen as a reflection of the blessings bestowed by the gods, a mark of success and divine favor. In African traditions, gold is not merely an object, it is a sacred symbol. It carries the power to connect the living to the divine, to honor the ancestors, to mark the passage of time, and to ensure that the blessings of the gods continue to flow through the generations. In Africa, color is not just seen with the eyes, it is felt in the heart, in the soul, in the very essence of being. These colors, red, white, black, blue, green, gold, are not simply pigments mixed with the earth. They are living forces, spirits woven into the fabric of life, passed down through generations in rituals, rites, ceremonies, and stories. Every bead, every cloth, every painted face carries the weight of history, the pulse of the ancestors, the memory of creation. From the powerful red of Sango's lightning to the pure white of Obatala's wisdom, from the deep black of ancestral power to the serene blue of divine protection. Every color tells a story that reaches beyond time. Color in African tradition is not just for decoration, it is for transformation. It marks the passage from one world to another, from one generation to the next. It connects the living to the ancestors and the divine, binding the past to the present and guiding the future. As the African world moves forward, color remains. It is a language that speaks in ways words cannot. It is a bridge between realms, between people, between the seen and unseen. It lives in the fabric of our daily lives and in the rituals that shape who we are and who we will become. It tells us that we are not just individuals, but part of something much greater, a cosmic order, a shared history, a divine essence. So when you see the vibrant fabric of an African garment, when you spot the sparkling gold of a necklace, when you notice the deep blue of beads or the green of a leaf, remember, it is not just decoration, it is a symbol, a spirit, a living memory. In the colors of Africa, history is not just preserved, it is alive, breathing, and waiting to be remembered.